Hello and welcome to Ireland's Homes, Interiors and Living magazine podcast, a show where we talk to industry insiders about all things design, home and property. My name is Sara Austin and I'm the host of the podcast. I work as an interior stylist based here in Belfast. Today we are delighted to welcome Susan. Susan is the creative director and founder of Ashen Cloud. Okay, so welcome, Susan. I am delighted to have you here today to chat to you a little about your aesthetic, what inspires you, and I guess your creative design process as well. Today, we're going to be talking about a recent project that you've worked on, the Mayo home that features on our April front cover. The imagery that I've seen is absolutely stunning. I think Ruth Maria Murphy took the pictures for you.
She did, yes.
Really beautiful shots. It's a stunningly curated home, and really keen to chat to you and get more information about how you went about the design process for that home. So welcome.
Thank you.
What is it that gets you excited about a new project, and how do you choose which projects are the right ones for your business, Ashen Cloud?
Yeah, I do tend to kind of have immediate excitement about projects that happen straight away. So I usually start just chatting to potential clients who come my way and see, is the project going to suit what we do? Not from a design style, but more from, are the clients kind of passionate about creating something unique and beautiful in their space? Obviously, is the budget there to kind of support that as well? Because we are talking about sort of high-end residential design as well. So there's a few things to discuss in those first few calls. As soon as we start talking to clients about their needs and their wants and their individual preferences, I do tend to get excited, and I like to listen for quite a while. I'm a listener. I don't kind of delve in with my big ideas. I do like to listen and take stock and take a lot in. And I think that process of getting to know a client at the very beginning of a project is crucial, So we probably spend about 2 months doing that, getting to know people, brief taking, visioning, developing concept ideas, then developing that into a concept design, further concept development until we get to a space where everybody is really happy about it and it's really kind of finely attuned to their needs. And because everybody's needs are different, and therefore the product of that should be different for everybody. So I get excited about that. I guess that's the nice thing about being a creative, is you get to get up every day and dream up these ideas for people. But I would say that the thing that interests me most is about really finally attuning it to certain people and certain personalities and certain sets of circumstances.
And what elements, Susan, would you say define your style? I guess your house, I know your own home, is really recognisable from Instagram. Anyone who's following you here in Ireland and elsewhere, indeed, your personal style. And then I guess what attracts clients to you and your aesthetic?
I'm a bit fickle when it comes to a design aesthetic. I just like them all. I can't think of a design style that I don't like and that I don't enjoy kind of dabbling in. And so my house was a moment in time. If I was to do it again tomorrow, I'd probably do it completely different.
Yeah.
Such as, the fickleness of my taste. But yeah, I'm just like really stimulated by design. So I really enjoy designs from all time periods and, whether it's classical styles or highly contemporary, I just enjoy them all. When I meet a client and it's about going into that, encyclopedia and trying to figure out what's going to be the right thing for you guys,
Yeah.
So yes, I do. My own house is quite pared back, and that was probably because when I was building it, there was a lot going on in my life. I was in the midst of having a lot of children, and we had took so long to find a place that we could actually build, or that was going to be possible to build, that when it came to actually doing it, it was like, I just want this to be a place where we can relax and feel serene. And myself and my husband both do have quite busy jobs as well. So that was the product of that, really. And I know that a lot of people did kind of latch on to Ashen Cloud off the back of my own house. But I wouldn't say that my the work that I've done since is highly reflective of that, because we've done so many very different things. But I do still like my own house.
It's always a good thing. I like looking at your work as well. I really get that from it, Susan, that spaces do feel very restful. They're calming, they're interesting. At the same time, there's always calming elements to them. And so with the Mayo project then, what really was your starting point with that process?
When we met our client, they were a couple. They had two children and they had differing design styles. One of them wanted it to be timeless and quite with classical references. And then the other half wanted it to be more contemporary, or had previously looked into more contemporary styles. So the architecture, before we came on board, ended up being a sort of convergence of styles, a sort of almost like a Georgian or a neo-Georgian appointed type house, but it had a really contemporary annex onto it. That was the starting point, really. We're dealing with architecturally two different styles and two different clients who kind of, wanted to incorporate that. So it was our job really to try and blend that in the home. And we tried to do that in every sense possible to bring forward maybe into the contemporary space some of the more classical, to buy into the contemporary side as well, and make sure that wasn't too hard-nosed or too edgy, so it was just about trying to find that balance there the whole time, really. And every decision came back to that. When it came to choosing, should we put cornicing there or should we not put cornicing there? Should it be paneling? Should it not be paneled? We always came back to, how is the balance or the overall balance? Are we leaning too much here and we need to lean a little bit back into the contemporary space, or vice versa? So you'll see that in rooms where we had, say, cornicing and panelings and quite kind of classical details, that we put really contemporary furniture and really contemporary artwork and things like that. And that found the balance there. And then maybe vice versa in the kitchen, we had quite a contemporary kitchen, but, we still had cornicing. So we were very careful on the kitchen detail to make that clean edged. And we also had checkerboard floors, which again is kind of that traditional Georgian entrance hallway kind of feeling. So we were just trying to find our ways to update that to 2024, or actually when we started this it was 2021. So but going forward, but just for this kind of generation, and make it feel fresh, it was going to be homogenous with the overall architecture of the house.
No, I really got the sense of that from the hallway, as you said, that checkerboard floor, the proportions of it, and the dark wood sort of staircase. But then as you move upwards, you kind of get to these like large glass panels, and
even that it was tricky to work out, because it's a split level house and you come in to the living areas on the top floor, where the kitchen and that was, and then you go down to the subterranean level, I suppose, but there's also an entrance hall there with the fireplace and all of that sort of thing. So the idea was that the family would probably use that upper floor door on a daily basis, but that if there's guests or dinner parties, that they will be brought in through where the beautiful views are, through the ground floor, or the lower ground floor, I should say, and they're brought up through to experience the house. So there is a journey there, and it went from, even the paint that we chose on those lower floors was darker, and we sort of gradually transitioned it to lighter and brighter as we got up. And that was tricky because it's the same space, really. It's the same flooring. So we had to kind of figure out how the paneling was going to work, and how eventually we were going to get to the ceiling, which had a very architectural contemporary roof light, and how we were going to kind of integrate all that. So there was a lot of decisions that nobody would ever think had to be made.
And within that, Susan, did you get involved in a lot of the interior architecture side of things? Did you get involved with the builders sort of early on?
Typically, we would be involved pre-construction, 6 months to a year before construction, and we're working with the architect and the project team to coordinate and to tender everything out. And then when construction starts, really all the decisions for us are typically already made. We were probably 3.5 years working on this project.
And you touched on it already there, Susan, a little bit, the colour. I love talking about colour. It's something really close to my heart. And just talk me through a little bit, kind of the colour and the detailing, and some of your favourite elements throughout the design process and what you were trying to achieve with it.
I mean, I think that many people who kind of come to us kind of feel like they would like a neutral sort of house, and that is fine. But when I think when you have sort of 4 or 5 main finishes in your house, especially when it's a huge house, that can get tired really, really quickly. So it was sort of our job to layer the colors in, and gradually as time went on, people got more comfortable with the use of color, and the colors that are used in this home, I kind of describe them as the extended neutrals. That the rust greens, of, Irish countryside alongside the greens and the blues and that sort of thing. So they're all pulled from the environment. And there's a lot of landscape panoramic views in this house as well. So it was an indoor outdoor sort of palette.
Yeah.
And I think those colors are quite easy to accept in your home because of them being in your intrinsic environment. So that's where we kind of started, and we developed it from there. And in some areas it was bolder. You might see the rust in the master or the primary bedroom, and the triangle tiles that were quite accurate in color, I suppose, when we first presented them. But then when you see it in the wider context, it all works quite well. So yeah, there was a lovely use of color in this. It does feel transitional as you move through it, moodier in certain areas. Each of it was conditioned to promote rest or fun or activity or all of that sort of thing. So we really did think about that as we were kind of moving through each space, and color ended up where it was for those reasons.
Yeah, no, I loved the blue sitting room, as you say, with the deep kind of
not too dissimilar to what you have behind you there, actually.
But yeah, taking it right up onto the ceiling as you had it, kind of that enveloping kind of feeling. You could see that that's a room that they must really enjoy using kind of into the evening. And did you have a favorite room?
Yeah, I hate being favorites because there's so many nice pieces to this home, but I really, when you walk into the master or the primary bedroom, you really do feel such restfulness. There's a gorgeous color on the wall. It's Leverett. I think it's Color Trend. And that color just ended up being the perfect choice. And then we were able to layer that up with the greens and the rusts that kind of went into the bathroom, that sort of thing. And I felt like that brought together a lot of the colors elsewhere in the house. It sort of almost synthesized the whole home in one room or one suite through form and through color. So I really did like that space. I mean, I would be very happy if that was my master's.
Yeah. As I spotted it, and you see that lovely, is it like an ensuite bathroom, and you've got a lovely rust tone tile coming through, and the lovely warm neutral on the wall. It's just such a lovely shot.
And it's just a lovely space when you're in that space. It just feels really highly restful, which is what you want from a place to retreat to. So yeah, it was really nice. But there's lovely spaces. I mean, we've got the spa area as well, which was kind of contemporary, and that was really fun to detail. Kind of brought me back to my commercial architecture days. There's a lot of really nice kind of areas, but if I had to pick a favorite, I do really like that room.
And lighting, Susan, as you were working through the lighting for the space, I mean, there are some beautiful lights. I know it was like the opaline finishes and the burnished brass. Talk to me a little bit about your choices there.
We do take a kind of holistic approach to lighting design, and I'm very conscious of the fact that we're living in Ireland, northern light, which is often harsh, and we're often drenched in grey cloud for large swathes of the year, up to 8 months, sometimes 10 months. So, the lighting in a house in Ireland is really, really crucial. So we do like to kind of layer that up. So from the architectural lighting to what you can't see, and make sure that those kind of layers are there, up to that decorative lighting, which is what I typically call the jewellery. I don't like to overuse the jewellery in a space. Let them be where they are important to be, but not kind of overdo it in the space. So yeah, each fixture where we decided it needed to be a statement was a statement. We did that. We had certain fixtures chosen for different areas and taken into account what you might be able to see in your line of vision in the next room or an adjacent room. So we were always thinking about those vignettes in different areas, and that kind of informed the choices as we went along. Palette was really nice. We were typically working with that antique or burnished brass in certain areas, and that packed a punch. We didn't overuse that finish, so when it was used, it was really, really nice statement in the space, and different forms then where they were needed. So where we needed a bit of sculpture, the lighting was really great at hiding that.
Susan, was there any particular challenges, do you feel like, throughout the design process? I know designers, there's always challenges, but I think sometimes that's what makes a project, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there was loads of challenges, and even though we fully detailed everything before the build, project of this size, as you're going through it, inevitably lots and lots of things came up, that nooks and crannies or structurally things that had to change in a certain way. So there was swathes of things that popped up as we went along, but we just kind of take a sensible approach to these challenges that come along the way, and try to figure them out like you would kind of a maths problem or anything, and then like that, what I explained earlier about figuring out how we were going to deal with the paint, and we hadn't chosen the paint that early in the process. So when it came to choosing the paint, there was lots of decisions about what side should be this color and what side should be another. And if we're transitioning in rooms, do we paint the back of doors, and all little kind of nitty gritty little things like that. Paint was probably challenging actually because of mixing the different styles, and having paneling and not paneling. Paint was one of the, and because we weren't just painting everything white, paint was probably one of the things that was challenging to choose as we went through it. But I think it worked out well.
We've been talking about colour a lot this episode. For somebody who's afraid of colour, introducing colour into their home, like what are your recommendations on a few easy fixes?
Yeah, I think those kind of extended neutrals are the easy ones to get in. If you see behind me here, a little bit of, kind of burgundy is easy to kind of fit in a neutral palette, as is green. They can behave like neutrals, or, kind of tones of beiges and that sort of thing, going towards browns and reds and things. They're easy ones to start slipping in. I know it is hard, especially if you have a kind of white walled aesthetic, but I think those, I call them kind of dustier tones. So if you choose dustier tones of any color, really, it could be a dusty tone of mustard, could be a dusty tone of burgundy, green, blue. If you kind of dust them right down or grey them right down to that very settled tone, they can easily slip in with any neutral scheme and really elevate it and give it something that, it might have felt a little bit bland before. It can do that. Then you can kind of get with paint. I think that's an easy way to experiment as well, because it's relatively cheap compared to other, you're not buying a big red sofa or anything.
On that kind of note, I guess, really, any other ways that you think on a budget readers can quickly kind of adapt their home to make a big difference? Like what would be on your cheat sheet if you would have one, Susan?
Yeah, I think soft furnishings are probably the way to go, and you can easily pick up, cost effective, like Zara Home is great for that sort of thing. H&M, Pennies, TK Maxx, all of those places have, nice soft furnishings, just rugs, or throws, cushions. I think that's a really easy way to start. Or you could get small sculptural items that add a pop to an area. So maybe buy a new vase for your kitchen island or something. Or I saw something the other day online. I thought it was interesting. The lamp that doesn't match should always have a place in your room. And I think that's, you being from fashion as well, you probably kind of use that trick plenty of times, putting a yellow handbag with a neutral outfit or something, something just out of whack that elevates it. I think that a table lamp or something like that, or a small little table in a color, can do the same thing in a room. So where you might be brave enough to at times put on a red handbag, maybe you get a little red side table or a little red lamp or a vase or something, and that does the same thing for your home.
Okay, and then my last little question for you today, Susan. It's the start of the year, it's February still, we're kind of casting our minds forward to what we might be getting up to this year. Have you got favorite travel destinations, and do they then inspire in turn your work and your design aesthetic, do you think?
Yes, I mean, I do, but I have to say most of my holidays at the moment are catered around my kids. I have 3 kids, they're 4, 7 and 10, and the ones that end up working out well for us are the ones that have a kids club and are easy to get to and all of that. So we're not too adventurous at the minute, maybe not as much as we might have been when we were kind of more single or unattached or kidless or whatever. So we tried to do the tried and tested for now, and I do absolutely pick up design inspiration no matter where I go. I just find inspiration for design everywhere. I could be in a clothes shop and something inspires me. It could be a fabric, it could be anything. Sometimes I'm watching music documentaries and I'll get really inspired by something there. I do love to travel. I don't want to say someday, you don't want to wish your time away, but I will get back to exploring the world a little bit in greater detail when my kids are a little bit older. But for now, it'd be just trying to get by without everybody killing each other. And
sometimes it's enough, isn't it?
Yes, that's where we're at the moment.
Well, Susan, it has been such a pleasure to meet you and talk with you today and to understand more of what you guys are doing at Ashen Cloud. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us.
Thank you for having me.